Listen here, all of you who will follow my advice at that time. It is difficult to realize the nature of Ati Yoga of the great perfection, so train in it. This nature is the awakened state of mind. Although your body remains human, your mind arrives at the stage of Buddhahood. No matter how profound, how vast, or how all-encompassing the teachings of the great perfection may be, they are all included within this. Don't meditate on or fabricate even as much as an atom, and don't be distracted for even as much as an instant. There is a danger that people who fail to comprehend this will use this platitude, quote, "It's all right not to meditate," unquote. Their minds remain fettered by the distractions of samsaric business. Although when someone realizes the nature of non-meditation, they should have liberated samsara and nirvana into equality. When realization occurs, you should definitely be free from samsara, so that your disturbing emotions naturally subside and become original wakefulness. What is the use of a realization that fails to reduce your disturbing emotions? What use indeed? Before we continue, this is Darren Littlejohn, host of the 12-Step Buddhist Podcast. You're listening to episode 50, Don't Meditate, and continuing with practice number 8 of the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva. Thanks for listening. And that was the Jewel Spike Testament. This advice was spoken to Yeshe Sogyo from the book Advice from the Lotus Born. Well, it's good to be back. 2 years since the last podcast. I apologize as always. However, here we are. Back at the helm, back in the ring to take another swing, so to speak. The piece that we talked about, that I read from the beginning, is a very pure and raw teaching even if you take into consideration, it seems paradoxical. There is a danger that people who fail to comprehend this will use this platitude. It's all right to not meditate. Their minds remain fettered by the distractions of samsaric business. Although when someone realizes the nature of non-meditation, they should have or will have liberated samsara and nirvana into equality. So on one hand it says it's all right not to meditate. On the other hand it says a realization happens through non-meditation. Well, it's attachment, aversion, and ignorance as always. These are the three roots down into this depth, really. What is the use of a realization that fails to reduce your disturbing emotions? And as an addict in recovery, as a person with high ACEs and long-term sobriety, a lot of experience in different therapies and different spiritual avenues and what have you, I can say that disturbing emotions have been the biggest problem of my entire life. And, I've been on my own in an RV in the desert for 2 years plus since the whole pandemic started. And, I've used this as best I can, as a meditation hut to do practice daily on Zoom. And, well, there's a lot to be said about all that, but it was pretty hard for someone with PTSD to go through all the kind of stuff, the whole hostile takeover of the country, the craziness, the tweets, the elections, the insurrection. Oh my God, I can't even. So it's pretty hard to stay chill during all that. But somehow, you guys, I came out of it and brought with me something tasty that I'd like to talk to you about later. But let's pick up where we left off back in April of 2020. This, again, we continue the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva. The suffering of the lower realms, this is practice 8, the suffering of the lower realms, so difficult to bear, is the fruit of wrong deeds, so the Buddha taught. Therefore, even at the cost of your life, never to commit negative actions is the practice of a Bodhisattva. Set the bar high, why don't you? You know, in yoga teacher training, we trained to teach the student to set them up for success, right? And I mean, this one, as an addict, I hear this and I go, whoa, I won't do any more negative actions ever. That sounds a lot like Jesus in the church I went to a long time ago, and nothing ever came of that. It's too hard, But really what's going on here is really more of an essence or an essential meaning. The suffering of the lower realms are difficult to bear. So we know already, by the time we're here in the path, this is Mahayana and this is down the road, and many things have led up to this, all right? But when we get to, when we get to the path of the Bodhisattva, we've already figured out that samsara sucks, the infinite cycle, what we call cyclic existence, birth, death, ad infinitum, right? So we already know that karma, hey, karma starts at home, all right? Karma starts in your heart. Karma starts with that moment that you tense up, and that moment when you go, I am solidifying a karmic seed which will follow me into eternity and just really, really ripen when the right secondary causes and I least expect it and I really don't want it. And I'm going to sit there and go, why me? How could this possibly happen? After all, I'm a great guy. But in the Dharma, this is the teaching, to understand you create a cause and a cause has an effect. So we get that by the time we're at practice number 8. The suffering of the lower realms, which in the Buddhist cosmology, obviously you go down to the hot hells and the cold hells and all this kind of, and there's 21 of them. I've talked about it. But the idea of the lower realms of consciousness, let's just say your lower realms of emotional distress, of despair, of agony, of depression, isolation, exhaustion from just emotionally battling everything every second of every day. AA says, we had ceased fighting everything and everyone. Well, okay, it's another tall order, but this is a strong ideal, the suffering of the lower realms. We know. Because we know that now, we know that it's because of the fruit of wrong deeds, so said the Buddha. Buddha said, you reap what you sow, just like Jesus Christ. Okay? So the fruit of wrong deeds. See, the fruit, you put the seed, you put the secondary cause, the moisture, the nutrients, the sunlight, the photosynthesis, etc., and so forth. You get the result. So you have like a seed and you have secondary causes like our belief system, our attitudes, our lack of respect of the Dharma, our lack of respect of ourselves and others, and so on and so on. They just really do go all the way. You can keep going forever on those. So knowing this, even at the cost of your life, and I was just talking to Rabina, Venerable Rabina, earlier because I'd sent her a copy of my new book, and she used to teach, she does teach this, this, even at the cost of your life, never to commit negative actions is the practice of a Bodhisattva. So it is the practice of a Bodhisattva. All right, so don't beat yourself up that you committed negative actions, but if we can attain or acquire the skill to be able to regulate ourselves when the shit hits the fan emotionally, if we can train ourselves to do that, and then we can sit into the in the continuity. understanding this is what I want to go, or the point I'm trying to make. Let me see here. Never to commit negative actions is the practice. So, all right, rather than hype up about negative actions and the rules, and I thought Buddhism was more free, and I don't want to follow rules, blah, 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 blah. I'm an addict, I rebel. What we want to do is sit in the oceanic space of conscious, pure, primordial awareness and just be in the empty, free-floating, zero reference point of all prajna paramita emptiness. So we all realize freedom. We all realize this in the path. It's all space. So how can I have an attitude of really wanting to knot up within myself and attack, in the Dharma, in the teaching, in the space of awareness, because I've practiced, because I can come back to something, because I built something that I can come back to. I built something, a foundation, a base, as we say in the Dzogchen teaching. There's the base, the path, and the fruit. So, the base is this awareness that there really is nothing substantial at all, especially me, especially my I, especially my ego, especially my reference point. Okay, so the essential, non-essential, somehow balancing in this oceanic space and seeing that, man, negativity is bullshit, bro. I don't want to be reaping, the rewards or the punishments, so to speak. And that's a practice. That is the practice. So we meditate on pure compassion. We meditate on emptiness. We meditate on watching our mind and seeing what we do. Don't meditate on, Guru Padmasambhava says, or fabricate. See, to meditate on, there has to be an I. There has to be me, which does not exist. So the teachings, but I sure the heck believe it. I sure the heck think I exist. Let me tell you, buddy. I'll fight you for it. Come on. Did anybody get in a hassle over the toilet paper 2 years ago? Let's not go back there. Please. I had a lady chase me through Walmart because I told her to wear a mask. Okay. So don't meditate on means that there's no, like, it's a negation, but it's like a negation in empty space. I mean, don't meditate on. There's no I to meditate on. There's no dualism. There's no subject object. There's no samsara nirvana. There's no suffering enlightenment, you see, in this teaching. This nature is the awakened state of mind. So don't meditate on or fabricate. Okay? Fabricate is to construct, is to fabricate. It doesn't just mean like, I fabricated that story. Fabrication is to make something, So don't make something out of nothing. The teaching is here. Guru Padmasambhava says, don't meditate on it. There's no you to meditate on anything anyways. Okay? So, since there's nothing there anyways, there's nobody to fabricate even as much as an atom. Even as much as an atom. And I think maybe they didn't have string theory back then, but even as much as, let's just say, the smallest known energetic particulate in the universe, like a string or what have you. And, he concludes, don't be distracted for even as much as an instant. Come on. I'm nothing but distraction 24/7, every day of every week for my whole life. How do I do this? Well, we train. We train the mind. And we train so that in this turbulent sea of overwhelming emotions, which likes to lead to a reason for a relapse, I love to set myself up. Oh, I just saw a big piece of lighting. Just love to set myself up for a reason to relapse. And everybody around me can see I'm being a jackass headed towards the relapse, but I'm like, no, it's all about everybody else, and you guys are doing these things, and that's why I feel this way, and God dang it, I'm going to go ahead and get me some, addictive what have you. Right. So set yourself up for success, right? Set yourself up for success. Don't make up that story. Start with, hey, listen, nothing to take seriously here. It really is kind of a cosmic fucking joke in a lot of respects. The fruit of wrong deeds is what causes our suffering. Don't commit them. That's the practice of Bodhisattva. Why is it a practice of a Bodhisattva? Because it's a compassion practice. Don't commit negative deeds, Darren. You dumb shit. That wasn't compassionate, but you dumb shit. Come on, bro. It's just going to come back to stab you and sit there in your gullet and pop up as some kind of negative toxic poison later sometime. Who knows? 100 lifetimes from now or next Tuesday. Does it matter? It really doesn't matter. All right. So you guys, here's the dealio. I spent quite a few years on this book, Compassionate Recovery, and it's available now. And I want you to get it. I want you to get it for people that you love. And I would love to get some reviews, please, up there. Got 5 stars. It's awesome. But I released it just because it's a year behind because Simon & Schuster, blah, 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 COVID, etc. Beyond words, this and that. So, Compassionate Recovery, Mindful Healing for Trauma and Addictions. It's available in hardcover. It's thick like the big book. It's like 440 pages. It really is almost big book size thickness. But then if you get it in the paperback, it's a few less pages, like 333. Oh no, it's 407. I mean, this thing is massive. Let me just tell you, just give me part 1, adverse childhood experiences, effects of ACEs. ACEs in recovery. Part 2, the spectrum of stress. We learn, we start out this story learning about the effects of adverse childhood experiences on our addiction and on our recovery, on our emotional spectrum, as we were talking about in the continuing, delayed but continuing practices of the Bodhisattva podcast here with your buddy Darren Littlejohn, author of the 12-Step Buddhist and now Compassionate Recovery. So we go into what the problems are. We go into the brain stuff, spectrum of stress, window of tolerance. How do we understand the nervous system, our neurotransmitters, the brain? Just like, what can we just learn enough about it to work with it? We don't have to study it up and become like some kind of brain scientist, but we can really just get familiarity so that we understand what's going on, use that as a basis for our practice. Go into all the things that happen in the brain on addiction and trauma. Then we go into what happens in the brain on the solution, the medicine, the application of the practice, your brain on mindfulness, your brain on empathy, your brain on self-compassion and compassion. And part 4 is about, setting yourself up for success, your recovery, your way, how to avoid the funnel. So many people ask me about the funnel over the years, so I wrote a good 35 pages on it. The recovery mastery spectrum, just the whole idea that, we're not just not drinking today and that's as good as no, let's talk about spiritual evolution. Let's talk about personal mastery or spiritual mastery or something. I don't know, get a bowl of perfect game. However you say that in bowling. So anyways, the last part of it is practicing the principles and how to create compassionate community. There's all kinds of practices throughout this entire book. It's chock full. Everything is footnoted. There's over 100 footnotes. I want to get this in the hands of clinicians. So if you're a clinician, get it, check it out. The nice benefit of this book is that it doesn't conflict with anything that is being taught or dealt with in treatment, so that when you can use it in treatment and there's no conflict when you go. If you want to go out to a meeting and come back, you can go to you can set up a meeting like this or a meditation or something, and you're not going to have to fight. Between the ideologies of 12-step recovery, etc., and what's being taught. Like, it's all consistent. So if this book makes it into treatment and into the community, then it can be consistent continuity between being in treatment and being out in the world. And I think that's really important because a lot of people slip through the cracks. When they get out of treatment, they slip through the cracks. You got to get rid of all your old ideas and old haunts and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the main benefits. And the other main benefit is that this gives you the root of the problem and the root of the solution. Okay, so we go right into the root, right into the core. Right, I had like 6 or 7 teeth go bad this past year, and I had to go drive to Mexico half a dozen times and get them all. And then they were pulling them and this and that. Oh my God, the root, man, deep, deep, deep. The pain. Try to follow where's the root of the pain. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about where the decay is, from our broken soul at like age, 5 or something or whatever, whenever it was for you. And how to get the balm on there, how to get the wound, how to put the medicine on there, how to give self-compassion, how to practice all this Buddhist stuff. This book isn't Buddhist, but if you are Buddhist and you do this book, you'll understand perfectly exactly what's going on. It is an application of these principles, but it's not really spelled out that way at all, because everybody needs to be able to access this information. So anyways, compassionaterecovery.us, that's the site. Got a Books for Addicts program up there where you can donate a book to a prison inmate. If you want to be on that list, contact me, info@compassionaterecovery.us. I'm going to get on out of here. It's 21 minutes. It's a long time. I was going to write it all out and script it and be all kind of fancy schmancy like the new age podcasters, but I've been doing this since 2005, and I'm just going to say it how it is, people. All right. Peace out, y'all, and namaste. Let's talk again real soon.